Toni Storm beating Kylan King in about a 5-minute match, and Kylan King has been on the shows before. She was a regular at one point on AEW Dark. She's talented. She's been in NWA lately. The problem with this, though, is, let's just get into it now. The women's division in AEW, not the division itself, I should rephrase that. The booking of the women in AEW is embarrassingly bad. And I hate to even have this discussion at this point. AEW's been around for over 3 years. Dynamite debuted 3 years ago from this coming October. There is there hasn't really been an excuse since day one, but there is absolutely no excuse at this point for how fucking poorly they present their women in this company. I loved what they did at the beginning of Dynamite with Moxley and Punk, what they did throughout the show with those two. I love the Kenny Omega return, more on that momentarily. I thought the overall show was good. My bigger takeaway from this show, and really AEW as a whole right now, is how little their women's division means. They have all of, and I could be wrong, there might be more, but there's all of 2 stories going on right now in a division that has what feels like 1 million women. They've signed a lot of women in the last year. Ruby Soho went from being featured a lot to not featured at all, being brought back on the show as part of the Owen Hart Cup, losing like a fucking loser, and then disappearing from the show again. And she lost to Anna Jay recently. They're doing Anna Jay and Ty Conti, and who gives a fuck? The whole Anna Jay, Ty Conti, Ty Mello shit with Ruby Soho was fucking trash. It's terrible, and it's not a reflection of the talent. They're all very talented. The story itself, I could not give 2 fucks about, so I barely even count that. But we have Athena chasing Jade Cargill. Chris Statlander got hurt. That's unfortunate. You can't plan for that, but you still have Jade Cargill and Athena. There really hasn't been a lot of interesting developments in that storyline. It's really just been Athena chasing Jade. Jade's faced other women. She faced Madison Rayne in a very piss-poor match last week here on the show. Not very good. Not terrible, but not very good. At least Jade and Athena have had some mic time. Toni Storm has been the number 1 contender to the AEW Women's World Championship for over 2.5 months. She and Thunder Rosa have been basically feuding since the beginning of June. Right after Thunder Rosa beat Serena Deeb, Storm and Rosa have been feuding over that championship ever since. It has not been a blood feud. They've teamed in recent weeks, but the only reason they fucking teamed was because Tony Khan has no other idea how to book his fucking women. Storm and Rosa are 2 of the very best female or male athletes in the entire world. They're tremendous. They had a great match back at Forbidden Door. Why is it that in the last 2.5 months since that storyline started, I cannot recall a single talking segment that these women have had on TV? Maybe they have and I just missed it. People shit on it at the time. I remember the promo that Serena Deeb cut, and I really liked it actually. I thought the promo that Deeb cut on Dynamite before the Double or Nothing match with Rosa, with Dustin Rhodes in the ring, was great. People shit all over it. Oh, it wasn't very good. Maybe that scared Tony Khan from doing another in-ring promo with the women again. But this Storm and Kylan King match, while not bad, was unnecessarily lengthy. And it wasn't 20 minutes. Listen, I'm not saying I want to see less of the women. I want to see more of the women on the show. But not just be careful what you wish for, but you have to use the women in a more meaningful manner on these fucking shows. Just because people say, oh, we want more of the women on the shows, doesn't mean you put them in random meaningless matches for no real reason. You don't do that with the men. A lot of the men's matches have meaning. And, AEW has faults like any other company does. WWE has faults. Impact, any other company has faults. AEW maybe even less so because a lot of their product is very good. The women's division, after 3.5 years, remains their biggest Achilles heel. And it's embarrassing at this point because they have the fucking talent. In the last year alone, like I said, they scooped up Toni Storm, Athena, Ruby Soho. They've built up their own stars in Anna Jay and Jade Cargill, among other people. Britt Baker's a homegrown star. Jamie Hayter they signed about a year ago. She's very good as well. There's a lot of great women's matches on the shows. There was a great women's tag team match on Dynamite like a week or 2 ago. Nyla Rose they built up from the ground up. I don't really give a fuck about Marina Shafir, less of her please, but you catch my drift. They have a lot of talent across all their shows. We tend to see them more on Rampage and more so Dark and Elevation than Dynamite, but still they have a lot of talent across their shows. Why is it that there really hasn't been a meaningful feud in that division since this company started, beyond Rosa and Baker? It seems like they can only really get it right with those 2, and they have great chemistry, but we really haven't had a real feud in that division since this company was born 3.5 years ago. Storm and Rosa at All Out should mean a hell of a lot more than it does. I think it's going to be a great match. I think it's going to be even better than the Forbidden Door match. But Toni Storm, she's had a good run in AEW. I'm not saying, she made a mistake by signing with AEW. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that they have these women. She's been on the show weekly, which is good. That's a step in the right direction. But they're not, when was the last time she cut a promo with them in anything? Why couldn't they have used this 5 minutes, this 5 or 6 minute window they had for these women, commercial break be damned, I guess, to establish Rosa and Storm 2 at All Out? That is what I don't understand. They announced the match in a fucking graphic later on in the show. Why couldn't they have used the time they had on the show devoted to Kylan King and Toni Storm? Why couldn't they have used that to establish the rematch of the pay-per-view? Instead, Thunder Rosa looked like a fucking moron backstage watching on the TV as Toni Storm struggles to beat this random jobber from Dark. And if it's an argument of, the women have to have a match, then give the women another fucking match on the show. I mean, honestly, you could have shaved a couple of minutes off here or there, or cut off the Gun Club garbage, and give the women another match on the show that means a damn. I mean, it really is amazing how after all this time, they still do an awful, awful job of booking their women and making them feel like a real priority on the show. And I'm not even going to compare it to WWE, because there's a lot of things WWE does inferior to AEW, it's not even about that. But the women on WWE are a real focal point. Yeah, they have more time at 3 hours, but Dynamite is a 2-hour show. SmackDown seems to have more meaningful women's segments sometimes than fucking Dynamite does. And Dynamite is the be-all, end-all of AEW. That, to me, doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. They have the talent. I want to see the talent and use them in meaningful feuds. Not just wrestler chases wrestler B for a championship. Give me some bad blood. Give me some promos. They did that with Deeb and Rosa. Why can't they do that with with Rosa and Storm? Because they're both baby faces? You can't create a compelling story between two baby faces? That's what I don't get. I want to see more of that improved upon in AEW going forward, because it's embarrassing at this point how fucking of an afterthought these women are on these shows. It really is astoundingly bad, and it is not a reflection on the talent at all, as much as it is Tony Khan and the fact he just seems to not give a fuck about his own women's division.